has a similar program?
Not all of them,
Not all.
but they're going that way.
Oh, okay.
All right, guys, we'll get started tonight. Call the meeting to order. We'll have the roll call.
Brandon Butler,
Yes, sir.
Patty Carroll,
Here,
Shannon Crutcher, Mitch Dowding, Richard Edmondson here, Jim Power.
Here.
And Ron Rowe.
Present.
And Neil Rice.
And, I'm sorry, Dr. Ryan. I'll let you
Neil's
go.
not official yet.
You're not.
Oh, not officially yet. Uh-oh.
We'll swear you in
I
tonight.
haven't given you the baton.
All right, so we'll go approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
All right, we'll go into citizens' comments. I apologize, I didn't put anything out there. You guys have any comments for us tonight? Good luck. All right, public announcements. I do not have any public announcements.
Keith.
Keith, you have anything?
Jenny wanted me to announce she has a class with NOAA. It's called Wild Weather. It's for families coming out and learning about the wild weather that we have. It just sounds like a pretty fun thing to come out and be able to get involved. They're going to make snow, do tornadoes in jars and different stuff like that. So
What's the name of the class?
Wild Weather.
Wild Weather.
And that is Saturday, July 9th, from 2 to 3. All ages welcome, and it's a free event.
Making snow in July.
Heard it all now.
I will just say the city's 3rd of July celebration starts at 4 o'clock on the 3rd. So it's our Independence Day celebration, fireworks show.
Next Sunday.
Gates open at 4.
Yeah, gates open at 4. Fireworks shows at 8:30.
Any other announcements? All right, we will move into the approval of the minutes from the April 4th, 2016 meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll go into park updates. Keith?
Want to give an update, see that ask about the roads, and I know it's on old business. It was approved by the Board of Commissioners. It did go out for bid. It came back at $22,700. Our next step in that is to bring it back to the board for a budget amendment, which will take 2 readings, which is a month, so it'll be August before we start paving project.
Is this the paving that will include the Nature Center parking lot?
Yes.
So it'll be from that intersection there back to the
Yeah,
parking
be in
lot?
front of the Nature Center in the parking lot.
Is that as far as it's gonna go?
Yeah, it's gonna
Parking
go,
lot?
if you guys know where the culvert is, underneath the road, just past the parking lot, there's a big
Oh,
culvert
yeah.
there. It's gonna go just past there so that it doesn't, the water will pool there.
Uh-huh.
So, talking with Mr. Eubanks, we made it go a little bit past that so it wouldn't pool right there, because there's a little.
And Mr.
swell.
Eubanks is gonna do it.
He is.
I talked to him like a year or so ago, trying to see if he was interested in doing it. I'm glad he got the job.
And as far as the other thing on here, was another update. Joanne's outdoor classroom still waiting to hear back from the engineers on that. And we are questioning them every time we see them, so it's not that we're not forgetting to ask the questions about the handicap, going to outdoor classroom. That's the answer we keep getting.
Who are you waiting to hear from?
City engineer,
And that's Will.
yes.
Do you think that's gonna get done this year?
I hope. I can't give you a different answer, but that's why we keep asking a question when we see them.
I'll be at the planning commission meeting in a week and a half or whatever. I'll try and pester him that night, see where he's at on it.
And we talk to them in staff review every month. They have one. We talk to them, and I know Mr. Hall talks to him all the time about it too. So, and Mr. Hall sends his apologies. He's not feeling very well tonight. He had a busy day today, and he's just not feeling very well. So.
Right?
I know this is your updates, but could I ask a couple of questions about things? MTMC, are they gonna do anything about?
Yeah, I read that too. They actually came back to us late. They were trying to get someone to plant it, and they had actually landscape companies, I believe 3 of them came out to bid the job for them. And they said the ground wasn't ready for it. They needed the chips to decompose a little bit more. They're going to look at it again in fall time.
Okay. And the other thing, I guess along the sidewalk, there's not gonna be curves, we're just gonna have rocks.
I'm not sure how the original plan was. I think Mr. Hall has the original plans on that, and I need to look at those and see. I thought that was supposed to be phase 2, but this whole job was not done in the proper stages. The sidewalks were supposed to come in stage 2, at least the portion in the playground. So they kind of did the road and the sidewalks, and then they did the other one going to the playground in the front of the nature center. So that's something we'll have to check in on.
Where are they planting plants at? On the backside, what are the MTMC plants you were talking about in the first question?
That's the backside where they put the power line, moved the power lines.
Okay. Are they gonna plant some shrubs like there or something?
It's not gonna be shrubs. They can't have anything like that, any woody things. It's gonna be native grasses and some wildflowers, basically.
When's the next Starlight Jam? Because that's coming up in July.
That was what it was approved.
Give me one moment. Is July 8th.
July 8th.
Friday, July 8th, from 6:30 to 9, featuring the Flat River Band.
Are y'all, pretty pleased with the turnout? Does it seem to be growing? Or is it
Actually,
staying
it
about the
has.
same?
They said this was the biggest one they've ever seen.
Really?
So I'm not, as far as people, I think they said it was the biggest one they've seen as far as people. And last year was pretty much the same thing for May, June were the biggest ones, and it's probably due to the weather.
Yeah. Are y'all on board with the project that was proposed by the Friends? I don't know if y'all heard about this, but there was some discussion about getting some lights to hang on a pole.
For the.
You don't know anything about that?
No.
A sign, I don't know. Is that still ongoing?
As far as I know,
Yeah.
I think Donna Brooks has got a proposal,
I don't know.
and
if
she may have not given it to him yet.
All right. Well,
Cat's out of the bag now.
yeah, I guess it looks like it is. Yeah, it was just a sign for, a light for people to walk up and down the stairs to get to the event, and a sign for people coming in to,
I knew
that'll
about the
say.
sign. I knew about the sign.
We sent in the proposal for the sign, I don't know if the proposal for the lighting has actually been sent.
Okay, all right, all right.
All right, any other park updates or questions about park updates? We will move into old business. The Park System Blueprint Master Plan, continue to discuss, takes action on park development chart, the new trail from Bowie Park to Fairview Library. I know I missed it last week, but I watched the video, try and catch up, and I think Mr. Rowe had some comments, or just some references about discussion that you had on that.
Yeah, there was 2 things that I volunteered to look into. One was, excuse me, to look into the ADA, what would be required. So I talked to, I think her first name is Margaret at TDOT ADA. She's the main lady there regarding that. And just preliminary, no details, but because that's what we're doing here is just looking into the feasibility of doing this and then possibly moving on. But she said if the city doesn't get grant money, there's not as stringent of rules and regulations, I guess you might say, as far as hard surface, that you could do crush and run. I guess is that what it's called, crush and run? or another product similar to that. She just said you still would have to go with the width of the, a certain width and clearings and, so, and then she offered her assistance in helping us out with it, which I thought was great. And so that was encouraging. If we went after a grant for that, then it might have to be a hard surface. As far as engineering goes, she didn't say you had to have a hard and fast engineering. But then moving to the second thing that I checked into, I met with Brian Bissell, and we just kind of talked over a preliminary trail from the library and how it snakes through over to the nature center. The outcome of that is the next step there would be to have the surveyor come in and survey it, give them the parameters, the slope, and they would go in there and give you a preliminary trail based on the contour of the land, and that would involve money. We'd have to pay between $500 and $1,000, I guess, to have that done. I didn't call and get a price on it because we're in this preliminary stage right now. So I personally think it's still a good project to keep on the burner and to progress with and take one little step at a time. I think it'll impact a lot of citizens, a lot of kids. And, I call it the Storybook Trail because I think that's a good name for it. So it's up to the commission and if they want to take the next steps. That they get more detail, can go to the BOC and ask for some financing for the,
So if you get a grant, you have to make it ADA accessible, that was her.
well,
Even though
no,
it's a nature park?
you have to do some ADA to it. If you get a grant, then there's more stringent requirements, as in hard surface.
What do you mean, are there like graduated levels of ADA compliance? You know,
No.
is that the lower level or something?
I'm saying the specifications would probably be a little more stringent or restrictive if you're using fund outside.
Crush and run, which you could still get handicap accessible, but the state says they would prefer hard surface. And this is all preliminary, okay? If we move forward with it, then we can get more details. She even said that she would come to one of the meetings to talk with us about it. So this is, like I said, it's a preliminary. Do we want to go forward? And that was what was discussed at the last meeting and I had volunteered to just get this information and bring it back to the commission, so.
Well, I've mentioned it to several people, and I've gotten a lot of different groups kind of excited about it. So I'd really like to get those groups, like Kathy Montgomery with the health department. I know the Friends, of the library, and then maybe we could get, obviously, the Friends of the park, and try to get everybody in one room. There is, Debbie Rainey had originally mentioned in a tree board meeting about it. There was a program that already existed, and it was that we could buy. And there might be grant money. So I think that it might, if y'all kind of know an idea of what the trail would look like, maybe to get some of these people together and just kind of get excitement behind it even before it went to the board,
But it'll involve, like I said, getting a survey done with the contour, where is the best spot for it, and then you can get an idea of where it's going to be and what's going to be entailed. So I kind of stopped at that point because, the surveyor's not going to do it for free, so.
Yeah.
But would that be the next step?
That would be, and Keith might have more detail on it, but yeah, that would be the next step that I see. So,
I like that name, the Storybook Trail.
Keith?
And I know Jim, going through the minutes, mentioned with the land trust was brought up and stuff. I do go to the land trust, even if we didn't have to, just to keep them apprised of what's happening out here. And I think you're 100% correct I think Eva would know that area where we're talking about is in the part where you could build stuff. But I still would go to Land Trust to let them know, just as a courtesy, so that they're aware of what we're thinking about. And
I'll tell you what I find interesting about this conversation is that he just told us that we could have some trails back there that would be ADA somewhat compliant. And if we use Crush Run, that's about the cheapest thing you can get out here at the deal. I mean, I could see if we're not getting grants, we're just paying for it ourselves. I mean, you can get a truckload. Does the city still have a dump truck?
yeah, but it's easier to get, we
I
get
mean,
9 to 10
Basically,
tons
the
compared to
delivery
one
bill
of
is
their.
like $500 for $300 worth of gravel.
Yeah,
That's the way
it's-
that works.
It
but-
does, but that we also have the thing with the
But
county.
and
that we
I'm
can-
not saying we need to go out here and start building trails everywhere, but I do find it encouraging that if we just decide that we want to build a trail and we can get the Friends and the Land Trust on board with it, that there is an option besides having to pave it or put concrete in there.
Right, and there's-
people with wheelchairs or whatever. could
There
get
is a
down.
material that you could put on it, and I don't have that with me. John Stark brought it to my attention. It's a spray that you basically till in to the crush and run, and then you roll it. These places that don't have our ability to pave with asphalt and everything use this as their roads. It holds up to, so there is stuff out there that you could spray on that stuff that would actually make it ADA compliant also. It's hard enough for vehicles to drive on. That's what they use as their roads up in parts of Canada and across the country. It's a chemical. I mean, from what I understand, it's not harmful. They use it around a lot of lakes to make their paved trails and stuff. So there is stuff out there besides what we all envision as
But
pavement.
just that
It
seems
makes
to
it
be
as
the
hard as
stopping
that.
point anytime we've talked about getting trails, ADA trails here, was we get a bid back and it's $500,000 to put one in. So if there's an answer that it might be
Well,
better
and
to
I
take.
actually brought that up to the city attorney to look into that material, and,
And like I said, I can't remember Margaret's last name, but she's willing to come to one of our meetings and,
Be a good resource.
yeah, so you can hear it from the horse's mouth.
And if
So-
this is pretty smooth back here, is this something that we could talk about having volunteers build this trail?
I would think there'd be no problem with it, as long as we kind of stake it off and know.
We have to do
engineer.
the contour has to meet the ADA requirements.
Right, and see, that's the whole thing with building the trail. Obviously, if it's draining one way, you want to put it at the high point, and you put the switchbacks in the low spots, so you're getting back off that little downspout or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Wet area, and you get back up on a high ground.
I understand that, but I mean, when it comes time and when it is laid out, and certainly there may be some difficult areas, you would need a backhoe or machine to get it to comply.
Right.
But a lot of times, I mean, I know I used to help a lot up at a park up, and the name just went out of my head, up by Lebanon.
Cedars of Lebanon.
No,
or-
it's the other one, there's another one up there. I also go to Star Parties up there, but, the Friends up there built almost every trail in that place. I mean, now, it's not a city park, it's a state park. And the Friends of that park built almost, and when I say the Friends, a lot of it was, Boy Scouts, whoever the Friends could get corralled to come up and help them, because those friends are sort of like our friends. Most of them have got gray hair, and their axe and a hatchet or a mattock out there in the woods is not,
Well,
doesn't
and
work.
I know, when I first started with Fairview, I went
They
to
all
Fall
had
Creek
dark hair,
Falls.
didn't
Yeah,
The head hair.
Creek Falls, and their friends group
Yeah.
really does a lot for them.
Right.
All right, any other discussion on the Storybook Trail?
I guess you just have to get some direction,
Yeah, do we want to take any action or
because the next step would be
surveying the land? or-
surveying and
I
getting a
think the next
contour.
step is get the Board of Commissioners to let us survey the land. And the,
You have a comment out there? Yes, ma'am?
Maybe a couple of us could go to Warner and see what their storybook trail is.
There's one at Warner.
It's just a dirt trail.
yeah, most of Warner's trails are dirt trails. I mean, they've got some pavement, but they've got more dirt trails than they've got paved trails.
So what would I guess, does anyone have any recommendations of our next step? Do we want to say, we'll propose it to the BOC to look further into it, to maybe allocating some funds for a surveyor, or give the Parks Department permission to proceed further into trying to figure out what it would take to get it, or?
Well, I would go to the BOC and ask them, or, explain it, and then ask for, unless Miss Patty's got some different.
Well, I'm not psychic, but I can guess how this will go. Let's see, let's take it out of the Bowie Park Fund, and sure, you can have it surveyed. That would be my guess. So I would think that you would probably want to know exactly, look at other ways of funding, unless it is something that one organization, the park pays for it, then that's fine. But then it cuts out, some of these people I've talked to, if we go the grant route, then we could potentially get funding. But it may, like you said, it may just make it more difficult, and maybe what we do is do the trail and then look at how can we fund the reading aspect of it, and incorporate the kids.
Because when you build a road, when you get ready to build that road, you're gonna put some crushed run or something down. That's gonna be your base to build a road on. So if we built the ADA trails and we used the crushed run and stuff, if it came a time that we wanted to come back and go over the top of it and pave it or put concrete on it or whatever to put a hard surface on it, we've already got a base set there for it. So we're not going back, we're not doing things in backwards order. We would be doing them in the order that if we hired a contractor to come out here and pave a trail back through there, what he would do is get it ready. He would put the crush run down on it. Of course, he would run a compactor and stuff on it and then come back and pave it.
Yeah.
So we're not going backwards. And my only thing, I see when we get grants lots of times, the reason we can't do anything is because our matching part of the grant we can't reach. We may be cheaper to do this than to even have the grant money for all. I mean, if it runs into, we're gonna have to pave it or put concrete on it and do all these things, and all of a sudden we've got a $100,000 project back there, which we may have been able to do for $10,000 or $15,000. And if we get an 80-20 match, well, we're in for more for that than we was to do the trail in the first place.
Yeah. Well, I understand it, but I was just saying that you could get, with the health department, they got excited about it. You get all these organizations, then maybe you could have something as nice as you want and then have buy-in in the community and stuff like that. But
Any county money available for this since it's coming
Well,
from a county place?
that's one of the things that we were talking about, that you could potentially, and it may be something, if we could get the county to approve, I don't want to speak out of turn, but there's still, you could potentially, the school facilities tax, or, something for the community promoting education. There's options, but I so get what you're saying. Maybe we should just do the trail and then look at how could you tie in something more. I don't know.
And it would be a budget amendment.
Yeah.
Obviously coming in front of the board, and I know, wish I had it a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
With the figures. We get told this all the time, like I didn't see it in the budget. So that'll be a sticking point for some of the members that will have, you know, to be, I wouldn't say be a big battle, but it may be a little one.
Well, and I guarantee you, they'll take it to the board and we can present it and they're gonna say, sure, let's take it out of the Bowie Park Fund. So I just don't know if if that's, which is there and we can use it, and that's an option.
That's a good question. There's a lot of things on our blueprint for park development chart that necessarily, does this automatically jump to the top of the list for funds, or to say that we want to spend money on it, or are there other things on our list that are more important, or, you know, how do we feel that
Well,
way?
just if I might, maybe it would be good if you call up the surveyor the city uses and get a ballpark figure on it. I didn't want to do it and go any further until it was, the preliminary stuff was brought before the commission here. And then once you get a figure, then you can go up by word of mouth and say, you know, can we donate, you know, maybe talk to the Friends of the Library and say, hey, can you help us get it started, Friends of Bowie. That's the way I would see it, because I agree with you, it'll.
Do you want me to look into the possibility of getting a grant through the Friends of the Park?
I mean, sure, anything that.
Yeah, I think we should look into everything.
Yeah, we should look at all assets.
I mean, I could probably, do you think the surveyor's bill would be $1,000? I could probably get $1,000 grant.
I
I
have
think
no
it would
idea.
probably be less than that, but,
Yeah. I would have to go on
Yeah.
what Ron says. I couldn't even estimate.
Well, I need to know what it's gonna cost, so
well, that's where,
somebody contact the surveyor and find out.
Now, we will
Or should
try,
I
I
do
think
that?
that's a good way to go, is, we talked about, Ms. Rainey had discussed a little bit of possible grants in another way, maybe the Friends. We'll try and everybody explore some more options. I'll try and reach out to that surveyor to get a ballpark of the cost of just laying it out, trying to do a survey of the land. And then, you know, may we defer it, keep in our old business for our next meeting in October, and we can discuss then. Here, we have some numbers now, so we have a little better presentation to send to the
Well,
board.
see, the thing is,
Well, I'll let you know as soon as I talk to them.
well, what I'm saying is, the grant deadline is it's in early August. If we want to get a grant in 2016, the application has to be in by, I think it's August 4th or somewhere around
I
there.
think we'd be fine still. If I get a number before, I'd say, hey, here's the number he gave me. You can ask for that grant, and then you can come to the October meeting and say, yeah, we approved a grant, and say, we have an option to have that grant there. I think that'd be okay. I'll try and get a number from him and get a better feel.
Okay.
Is it-
What would be the source of the grant?
Well, one of the main foundations is the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee. They're the largest charitable foundation in the mid-state area. So they're probably the ones I would apply.
There may be something, if you look like with NFL, they've got this Play 60, where they're encouraging kids to get 60 minutes of exercise every day. And that may be something that you could look into.
What's it called? NFL?
National Football League. They've
They
got,
have grants?
they've got, whatever the players set up, you know, where they've got their own foundations or something. And I know they support anything that would encourage exercise like that, and I know that, the deal, and I know a lot of people don't like Michelle Obama, but she has been promoting kids being more active, and there may be some federal money out there for something like this.
And that's why I would like some of these people, because I know, I'm referring to Kathy Montgomery, but she's over the Williamson County Health Department, and they are looking for ways to be active in our community. And so, and try to help promote fitness. And so I think they would be a great partner if we could, and they have the resources to help get grants and stuff like that, so.
They probably got a grant writer.
Yeah,
They probably
they
got a
do.
grant writer.
So, I mean, that would, but I think that would be great if we could start there and get the survey, then we really get together and.
You mean get a
just-
grant for the survey?
Yeah, get a grant for the survey. If you want to go that route. The other option is go to the board and then we know where it'll come from. So it just depends on what you want.
Well, I think it's more challenging to try to get donors and then everybody takes an interest in it and ownership and.
So we'll defer it until our October meeting, and we'll have a few tasks to try and get a little more information on it, and then I'll be in touch with you.
You gonna get in touch with me on how much the
Yes, sir.
surveyor would charge?
Yeah, is our surveyor, is it Chapdelaine, is that who we use? Okay, and I'll try and figure out the distance. I might get with Brian if he's been out there to tell me how far the distance is and things like that, just to get him some more information.
Okay. If I can get a pretty close,
Yes, sir.
accurate figure of how much it's gonna cost, that's gonna make the grant a lot more
Better chance.
feasible.
Yes, sir.
Well, even to go for a grant, you're gonna have to give them all that information to begin with.
But he can probably look on the topographical map. These surveyors can look on there, they
Well,
can pretty much.
He's the
give
one
you a
that done
guess.
the trails and stuff, so I'm sure he's
Familiar with
probably,
I mean, he can look those little lines there and tell you where, you know, where you're gonna have, you know, where your slope and your everything is.
All right, well, I'll wait to hear from you.
Okay. All right, so we'll defer that to the October meeting. The next old business item is update on paving Bowie Park and Joanne's classroom. So we discussed that in our park updates. So we'll move into 8.2, election of park commission officers. We still have the vice chairman position to elect. I know you guys deferred it till we had everybody present. Now we have two absent tonight as well. I don't know if we want to vote on it tonight or have any nominations.
I would nominate Mr. Powers.
Have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thanks, Betty.
All I know is I can't do anything else. And you would be perfect.
Any other nominations? So there's a motion on the floor with a second to nominate Jim Powers as the vice chairman. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
Congratulations.
Your vote doesn't count on this.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yep.
All right, we have no new business. The next meeting will be October 3rd, 2016 at 7 PM.
Are we electing Dr. Rice to,
I think
Or is that already
he
been done?
officially closes in June, and so
Yeah,
Dr. Rice's
my term
position-
is up the end of June.
the end of June? Okay. So when your term is up, he comes
He
on
takes
board?
over July 1st.
I inappropriately came early is what amounts to
I
it.
see, all right.
I
It's a
know,
warm-up
you're welcome.
round.
I know I am.
I didn't know if we had.
Dr. Rice, is this the first inappropriate thing you've ever done in
No,
your
it's
life?
not.
Jim,
No, but this is
you're full of yourself today.
kind of harmless.
Dr. Rice, you're the trainee tonight.
There you go.
Now, I will tell you though, we will probably, it'll be an interesting turnabout from the Board of Commission, because I think originally when the position came open, I don't think it was realized that your position was actually the historical, position. And so some point in the meeting, it was said, well, let's put Dr. Rice in that, and then, so let's do both of them. So now we essentially either have to go back as a board and vote for another at-large seat, which is fine. It's just a bylaw change. But it was one of those spur-of-the-moment decisions that I think probably wasn't, fully thought out, because basically, Mr. Hendricks he is not even on the historical. So that's just kind of, it fell into place, so we'll have to go clean it up. I'm fine with another seat. I mean, obviously, look, we don't always get a full, board anyway. So there's no reason we can't have another at-large seat.
Sure.
So I think that'll probably be the way we'll clean that up, with the board, is just go back and, change our, charter to,
And I will say this about Ron. He does, I mean, I have very little time to go out and do research right now. But Ron seems to, in the time he's been here, has seemed to be able to go out and do research, whether it was a dog park or whatever it was, and come back with some information on it. And to me, there's been times he's been probably, he's brought more information to this than anybody has brought to it. So, as somebody on this commission, I would be happy if he was still on the commission. I mean, if that makes any.
Ron, he wanted to leave us.
Yeah, he wanted to leave this seat. He seemed a lot more comfortable in this one.
Well,
Well, he didn't put his name back in, so.
if I could make a suggestion, or I made a suggestion on the alternates, that would be a good way to get someone involved, and then as a trainee, and if somebody's absent, that person then would have the ability to vote, so.
Well, that night, they voted Brian
Hendricks.
Hendricks and Dr. Rice both in, so we would have to add another at-large to meet our own, bylaws. But, there's definitely the option of you could do, and we were actually talking about that for several boards, you could do alternates just because of the ability to get people, and that's something that we probably need to,
You would be an even number of people then, so.
if we kept with
We can add
Mr.
another-
But it would be a good idea to have another at-large citizen, because this group is made up of other groups. And,
Especially when we have a citizen who's eager to join us and be a part of it.
yeah, right.
It'd be nice to make a spot.
Well, and I tell you what, he was, talking to him, he's very excited about the Veterans Park, and that would be nice to have some, excitement on that. So, but anyway, we'll work out how to clean that up, I guess. I think it's so nice that sometimes we just are like, oh, new volunteers, and you want to take them all, but you can't always. So.
All right, so we'll go into Park Commissioner comments, item 11, Mr. Powers.
I've got commented all I need to tonight, I imagine.
Mr. Rowe?
No, I don't have anything.
Abington?
I don't have anything.
Rice?
Let me actually bring you up to date a little bit on some things at the Historical Village. During the winter and spring months, we spent the money, the Historical Association did, that we raised from the auction we had last October, I believe, under the tent at the school. About $13,000-14,000, having the framework done, the walls, the construction work done for a restroom and for a kitchen at the school in that back bedroom, that back classroom. Just recently, last week I believe it was, Patty, the City of Fairview, the Board of Commissioners, made a generous donation from money that was set aside specifically for parks to help us with the plumbing that's required. And in the process now of negotiating with plumbers, getting the grinder pump and the water and the sewer and the bathroom, commode and sink and so forth done. That will take the majority of the money, of course, that we were granted by the city. But just recently, John Blade, president of the bank next door, donated a 17 by 20 one-room log house that was on his farm. And 3 of us have worked 4 or 5 days removing an attached building that was not original, removing the siding and different things, getting it ready to move. Since this building was on the footprint of the original plan, it should not require any work with the Planning Commission. Lisa agreed with us that it should not, and so did Alan Bazell, that he was aware of that. But anyway, we hope to get that there before too long, and hope to have it, set it up as a country church. We have old pews and a pulpit and well, they called it a mourner's bench, I guess, to be more polite today, I guess you might call it an altar or something. We have all of that kind of thing. It's going to be delightful. Another piece of information, coming this way from Niceville, you get to the top of Whippoorwill Hill, Camp Marymount's on the right, you go just a little tiny bit. On the left is a log building, two-room log building. You know what I'm talking about. That building.
Poster shop.
It is an upholstery shop now. It's two buildings that were moved there in the 40s or 30s from the Fernville area. When you go inside, it's one big room. That building has been donated to the Historical Association. Like the clinic, we weren't able to give it. It wasn't given to us today to move, but it has been given to us with the assurance that before long, whatever that means, we will be able to move it. So the timing probably is good for that purpose, since we don't have money to deal with it. I want to talk with you, Patty, just a minute after the meeting regarding farmers market. I was talking with Mr. Hall recently, and he said, I feel assured that the folks who would have provided the grant last year will do so again this year. Again, there is the problem with matching, but with some carryover funds from the 5-cent thing that was set aside, and plus the new budget has some money of this sort, I would like for you, if you would, to discuss this with Wayne. He's very much on board, and the plumbing that we're doing is being not only designed for the school, but also so that it could attach to a restaurant that would be at the farmer's market. So now really is the time to put both of them together. So talk to Wayne. That's it, I'm through. Need to talk to you after class.
I gotta have manual labor again.
But
Yeah, we do.
Dr. Rice, are you gonna move these as a whole building, or are you taking them apart?
Oh, no, they would absolutely be taken part. In the case of John Blade's building, the logs are oak, in great shape, but the bark was left on them, except on the sides. Well, so it's on the top and on the bottom.
That's got to come.
It's got to come off. So they will be it will be dismantled. The bark will be removed. It will be pressure washed. There are a couple of logs that have to be replaced. Craig Cropper, who makes his living doing this sort of thing, will be the one who's responsible for that. There are a lot of resources in this community, if they're just searched out. We want to place the building, this first structure, between the clinic and Deer Ridge Road. It has to be back just a little bit because of the way a swell runs to get rid of water. And then eventually behind it would be this log structure down here. I'm just getting too old. I need I need to move back the time some more years so I can continue working on this. But I really see it developing into something nice. And if we could get this farmer's market thing done, oh goodness sake, I can see fundraisers there with flea markets and things of that. I can see bluegrass concerts. I can see vegetables galore being sold. And got a call the other day from somebody about farmer's market. Why? And there's a little article in the paper this week. Somebody has written, why doesn't I didn't know the person, but it said, these poor people who are trying to sell their vegetables, sitting out in the sun, just cooking. why in the world can't there be some kind of a covered canopy built across the road on the Triangle property to help them out? Well, I don't know what prompted that little article, probably just a sincere thought, you know. But again, it matches the situation. If we could just get some grant money and get it all lined up, we could put it both together this year. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I know that when you said you was trying to figure out how to get it moved, I know that when you moved other buildings.
Oh, yes, sir.
You had a lot of hoops you had to jump through.
Oh, we most certainly did. You know, in the case of the post office, let's say this is one of the 4 walls. The roof was removed, the 4 walls literally were laid on the ground like this. Then they were forklift up, put on a flatbed, taken to the workshop. The walls were restored there. All the old bad siding was taken off. The stud work was repaired and replaced. Then it was brought, put on the foundation. You know, restoration is complicated and very expensive. But, and by the way, Mr. Verschoda has finished the back room. Oh, is it pretty? Oh, is it pretty? You'll see it tomorrow morning, by the way. You didn't know that, but you... I'm through.
Mary Carroll?
Yeah, the only thing I want to have tonight is just basically thanking Ron Rowe for his service.
Absolutely.
Enjoyed having you here, and I hope you will continue to be involved. So, that's it.
And thank you guys for trusting in me for the chairman position, and thank you, Mr. Rowe, for all you've done for us, and we wish to keep you around. I had some big shoes to fill, and hopefully we can continue to forward progress. We appreciate it very much. I'll take a motion for adjournment if anybody doesn't have anything else.
Moved. And make yourself a note.